Leave it to Sakurai to throw us a complete curveball of a Smash Bros. Announcement. For the longest time, fans thought Chrom would be the representative of Fire Emblem Awakening, but that's not the case. Instead, it's Robin and Lucina taking that honor, and they're both hiding plenty of secrets. Add in the fact that Captain Falcon has punched his way back into Smash, and we've got a trailer just perfect for the old analysis machine. So let's see just what secrets and hidden details it found. The biggest inclusion, and the one most in the spotlight in the trailer, is Robin, the player character from Awakening. He looks to bring his dual magic and swordsmanship style to the fray, but it looks like he may have a greater focus on his magic. But let's look at his moves piece by piece. First off, his dodge roll doesn't seem to have the most distance, just enough to get around opponents. His basic attacks will use his sword, while his side smash looks to summon a ball of fire that roasts the opponent next to him. That is, if it is his side smash. Later in the trailer, we see him performing a side smash with his sword. How could that be? Well, we think we have an idea, but we'll cover that later. His grab uses magic as well. After all, his hands are full. The grab is presumably a dark spell, though it's difficult to say if it's a specific one. We don't think it is though, because the tome in his hand does not change color. The color of the tome always reflects which spell Robin is casting. However, what's interesting in this scene is that it appears that Robin is charging a lightning spell. At first, it seems we can assume that it ties in directly to the spells he performs immediately afterward. After all, Thunder, which is the weakest, is cast right away. There's no sign of him charging it whatsoever, but it only does minor damage. Unfortunately, because it actually hits its target, we can't see how far Thunder's range is. Next up is L Thunder, which we also don't see charging, nor how long its range is. However, it is noticeably bigger than the Thunder spell. Is it possible that it can be charged to that? That could be the case, as we see Arc Thunder being used next. Unfortunately, we can't see Robin charge this either, but it is easy to see that it is much bigger and slower than his previous lightning spells. It also locks the Wii Fit Trainer into a multi-hit attack. Finally, there's the Thoron spell, which we can see being charged. It even has the same sparks surrounding Robin before he unleashes it. Unlike Arc Thunder, Thoron travels much more quickly, but isn't nearly as wide. It makes up for this by moving through everything in its path and continuing on until it's off screen, making it an extremely long-range attack with good knockback. There's even a special animation afterward where his sword floats around him before he catches it. It's worth noting that the female Robin also uses Arc Thunder later in the trailer, where we can clearly see that she doesn't charge it. It could be possible that the different forms of Thunder are part of Robin's customizable moves. Could players choose whether they want Thunder, L Thunder, or Arc Thunder for their standard special, and all three could possibly be charged up for a Thoron attack? It's difficult to say exactly, but it would explain why some of the Thunder attacks don't need to be charged. And if Thunder spells are his neutral special, we believe Fire spells are Robin's side special. These attacks strike the ground in front of him instead of traveling straight ahead. There's no sign of charging the attack either, which could mean that Arc Fire can be customized to the other spell types as well. Robin's recovery special is the L Wind, which looks to send wind cutters below him while lifting him into the air. We're not entirely sure if they can be aimed, but they do seem to be angled to the lower left of the screen, rather than directly below him. The other question is what the move will do if Robin is on the ground. It can't be shot below him, so will the wind cutters blast out from both sides while lifting him up? Or do we see what happens in this scene after he uses his tilt? That could be the case, or it could simply be part of a multi-hit combo, though we think it's probably the latter. Finally, his down special looks to be Nosferatu. In Fire Emblem, it was a magic attack that caused damage while recovering the character's health. That's exactly what happens here, as we can see the telltale healing sparkles surrounding Robin. The question is, how much damage will the attack do, and how easily can it be escaped? We're not sure, but it could be a very potent move. A cool little attention to detail though is that each of the spells uses the tone of that color. Yellow with thunder, red with fire, green with wind, and purple with dark magic. This matches up with each of the specials he uses. However, the biggest question about his magical specials is that during the trailer, Robin states that he can only use the tomes so many times. This begs the question of whether they really do have a limited number of uses, or if it's just a reference to the games. We even see him tossing away a book. Is that a taunt, or maybe he has to reload his magic after so many times? It could make playing Robin a bit trickier than he first appears. But there's another question involving Robin's weaponry. At the beginning of gameplay, he's using a bronze sword, not the Levin sword that he was holding during the cutscene. But the Levin sword does appear later during gameplay. What triggers its appearance? Nothing seems to be summoning it. Is it possible that the sword works like the tomes and can break after a while, just like in the Fire Emblem games? And if that's the case, do you just get another automatically, or do you have to wait for it in some way? Or could it be that after the tomes are used up, Robin switches to the Levin sword? It would explain why he used a fire spell as a side smash once, and then the Levin sword as that smash later in the trailer. If that is the case, using the Levin sword seems to dramatically lower his speed when compared to his magical attacks, which could also affect player tactics. Meanwhile, his taunts have him levitate his weapons around him, point his sword to the sky, and quickly leap through his held tome. Then there's his final smash. It appears that Robin summons Crumb from a magic circle before the warrior prince dashes forward. If he connects with an opponent, they are launched up and left helpless as Crumb delivers a set of critical blows while Robin shoots them with thunder magic. We don't see the end, but it's safe to assume the final strike sends the victim flying. While Robin looks very unique, Lucina seems to have her moveset based on Marth's. They have the same up air except that she strikes from the opposite side, and her neutral air also looks close to Marth's. Meanwhile, her specials follow in his footsteps as well, with her up special and down special looking almost exactly the same. What could be different is her version of the dancing blade, which looks much faster. Slowing down the footage, we can see her use a neutral strike followed by 2 downward hits that end with a multi-hit combo. It begs the question if Lucina is simply a clone of Marth, which seems to be the case. But she looks even closer to him than Roy did in Melee. At least in that game, Roy was slower, more powerful, and had a fire element to his attacks. There's no real indication of that here for Lucina, though it might be much more subtle. Perhaps she is much quicker than Marth, or, like Roy, the hilt of her blade is more powerful than the tip. One of the release screenshots shows her using a forward strike. It's difficult to say if this is her neutral special or a side smash, but that does look like the type of sword that's more effective up close. Otherwise, we get to see her taking off her mask, though we think that might just be part of her stage introduction. Finally, there's Captain Falcon, who looks to play exactly as he did before, at least on a surface level. He has the same side tilt with his upward kick, and his Raptor Boo side special is back as well. And of course, there's the glorious return of the Falcon Punch, with even more detail than we've ever seen before. And speaking of detail, you can make out his initials on his belt buckle, showing that Falcon still has plenty of style. So much style that one of his alternate colors is all gold. At first it looked like there was a silver version as well, but it's actually Falcon using the metal box. The blue Falcon returns with it being his ride in the stage introductions and running down opponents for his final smash. It seems like if there are any changes to Captain Falcon, they're going to be limited to small balance adjustments and no major new moves. Okay, we're almost done here, but there is one more detail worth pointing out. When Ike makes his appearance in the trailer, he comes in with his eruption. Except this time, Eruption's flames are blue, which is actually much closer to how the attack was in his games. And with that, we've covered everything we could find in the newest character reveal trailer for Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS. It's interesting to see so much love for the Fire Emblem series as well as Sakurai playing with expectations. We can't wait to see who else he'll reveal as the release date inches ever closer. Of course, if we missed something, please let us know in the comments. If you liked this video, be sure to like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at GameXplain. Thanks for watching, and make sure to stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Smash Bros. And other things gaming too.